Greetings everybody, this is Cayenne Pepper. Black Ops 7. Very rough start, huh? After 2021, when Call of Duty went up against its usual competitors, they all wet the bed and handed Activision an easy win. But this time, punches are just not being held back, with titles like Battlefield 6 and Arc Raiders being huge hits, along with great co-op and single-player experiences like Dispatch or Borderlands 4, and just many other titles. And Call of Duty has just been embarrassed all to hell, especially with Black Ops 6. So now, Black Ops 7 has a lot more on the line to prove than any other COD game has before, as the morale for Call of Duty is extremely low, and I find myself very apathetic towards the franchise now. However, for $15, I am giving it a fair but limited shot on PC Game Pass. So the question is the full game enough for me to buy it? Well, strap in, because this is going to be something else. Like always, the first thing I do with Call of Duty is play the campaign. It gives me a good feel for how the game should play. And this is also a direct sequel to Black Ops 2, one of my favorite Call of Duty stories ever. So, how do they bastardize it? I mean, come on, seeing how Vanguard, Modern Warfare 3, and Black Ops 6 ended up, with Modern Warfare 2 2022 being the only one that was mildly okay, I'm sure the story is bad, right? But how bad? This campaign is just, oh my god, this is the hardest part of the script to write. You truly have to see it to believe it. Don't play it, just see it. Prepare yourself for the new era of COD campaigns. There are two cutscenes relevant to the story. The first just gives you a rundown of the world. Menendez is presumed dead, however there's a video where he claims to be alive and well and wants to burn the world down. Cortez D is still currently burning the world down and the guild wants to ensure security. However, there's a part at the end where JSOC infiltrates the HQ, and I'll explain why this is odd in a minute. The game starts with a cutscene at a military funeral, as David Mason visits Frank Wood's grave, and bro lived to be 104 years old, and I expect no more from Frank Woods. Marshall, from Black Ops 6, shows up. He and Mason have a chat about the current situation. A video of Raul Menendez has surfaced calling for violence once again, claiming that he is still alive. In case you don't know, the official ending to Black Ops 2 is the worst ending, that David Mason killed Raul Menendez, which led to Cortez Dia posting Menendez's last video telling his followers to act, which leads to the US and the world being burned from within. Anyway, Marshall tells you that you're going to go to Avalon and to stop the guild from doing some sort of psyop or something.
We're sending you out tomorrow morning. We received intel that the guild is running a psyop out of Avalon.
So I guess you're in some sort of conflict with the guild. The guild is a PMC group trying to gain power over the world. The usual, I don't want to get political, so here's my made-up enemy that's boring as hell. Anyway, Harper says exactly how I feel right now.
Yo, what say we wrap this shit up real quick today, okay? I need to hit the beach and work on my tan.
So you go to the guild's HQ in Avalon and kill some mercs. Okay, so this is where I feel like I have to be missing something. This is an act of war, right? So far, the guild hasn't done anything. I mean, sure, Marshall says that they're likely doing a psyop in Avalon, but there isn't enough to start killing their guys. Did Avalon buy the guild for protection? And if that's the case, does that mean that the US is now at war with Avalon? There is nothing in the story to hint that any formal declaration of war was made. But no one acts surprised when JSOC starts infiltrating their base, so I guess the US and the guild are in some sort of conflict. I'm sorry, but we just started the game and I have no clue what is happening between the two factions I should care about. I won't be comparing these two games often, if at all, but I feel like this is the one place where the comparison makes sense, because of how similar they are. In Battlefield 6, while it certainly doesn't have a great campaign either, Pax Armada makes more sense in the story. NATO is fracturing, which leads to countries to leave NATO and hire Pax for their protection, and for an unknown reason until the end of the story, Pax attacks NATO forces unprovoked, making it clear why Pax is the bad guy and why you are fighting them. They fired the first shot. You're protecting yourself. And now, this isn't the best storytelling. Battlefield 6 has a lot of problems, and I'm sure other games do this type of story better. But Battlefield 6 is just the first game that came to mind, especially since they both kind of have the same problem, and they came out back to back. Anyway, we aren't even at the gameplay yet, and I'm tearing this story apart. Once we get in, there is that the Warzone UI? Do I have shield? I have to upgrade my gun's rarity? The enemy has Warzone armor and health? Okay, Treyarch, Raven Software, Activision, the Breast Milk Bandits. Just a quick question. Why? What does this even fucking add? This goddamn parasite war zone, latching onto anything it shouldn't ever be fucking touching. First it was zombies, now it's the fucking campaign? What's next? Is the next multiplayer gonna have you running around with 3 stacks of shields and different weapon rarities? Is this the next thing? Is this fucking parasite going to infect everything about the game? Okay, well, you know what, besides that, I will say one thing that's nice. They have a decent variety of enemies, like guys with shields or robots and such. It's nothing out of the ordinary, but it's still cool to see. After you slaughter a bunch of guys, you get into a room where a video of Raul Menendez is playing. However, David catches the guild's bluff, and the main villain of the story, Emma Keegan, reveals herself.
We've got a captive audience, whoever you are, so drop the bullshit.
A necessary first step.
What? I thought you would enjoy a familiar face. How about now, David Mason?
Emma Kagan, CEO of the guild. Shouldn't you be counting stacks of money somewhere?
Oh.
So at this point, no. Menendez is still very much dead, and this is just an AI video or something. Keegan mocks you from the screen and decides to test the cradle on you. If you don't know, the cradle was in Black Ops 6, another terrible campaign, at least story-wise, where it's some sort of gas that turns your fear into a weapon and makes you act crazy and see zombies. It's stupid is what it is. I'd rather have Nova 6 return as a weapon. At least that felt more scary and real rather than this made up shit. After you get exposed to the cradle, David reveals that he actually planted bombs and he detonates them, leading to a containment failure, and the whole building gets infected while you make your escape. Suddenly, these weird zombie demon things start popping out of the ground. Okay, I guess we're doing the drug trip crap early. After you try to escape, the floor collapses under you and you fall. Or at least that's what you hallucinate. In reality, you're probably on the floor screaming like you're falling while just laying on your back looking like a crazy person. After that, you're sent into La La Land with chunks of Nicaragua floating around. This is the mission from Black Ops 2 where Raul Menendez went batshit crazy looking for his sister. And this mission is batshit crazy. Machetes are falling out of the sky, you get jump boosters, and I think this is the only mission where you get jump boosters actually. And you fight a mix of the guild and hallucinations. Once you push through and get to the gate, this is where you see Raul fucking Menendez mocking you and acting really out of character. I know he's a hallucination and all, so it's not really him, but God, he is so butchered here, being nothing more than a Laffy Taffy villain. It feels like such a disservice to the original character, who is so much more deeper than that. A character who lost his family due to meddling with the CIA, and his family doing drug trafficking, and losing his sister, and all that stuff, which caused him to turn insane and to fight against the West, and all of its allies, even the East, because he sees them as no different. Anyway, Menendez starts teleporting and acting like Slender Man. After that, you... come the fuck on. A boss fight with Menendez. Oh, okay, we're not even trying this time. Wow. You pick up machete kill streaks and control them down until you kill Menendez. And once you beat him, he does this. I feel like I'm watching an episode of the Power Rangers. After that, you finally get your head cleared out, and it turns out that Section and his squad has been dark for a couple of hours. However, you got your next objective and you're ready to move on. And all of this is the first mission! So after that, you're told to go track down an insider, which is where you meet... Karma? I guess she didn't die in captivity or was killed on the USS Obama. I mean, in Black Ops 2, there is no way to keep both Karma and Harper alive. And I assume that if Harper was alive in the game, Karma must be dead. However, I guess her being rescued in captivity isn't impossible. She could have been rescued after Menendez's death for all we know. But you'd think the captors would have killed her within that time. Either way, she's in the game and here to help. You track down the insider and find a cargo crate, and David starts to get flashbacks about what Frank Woods told him about what happened to him in Angola.
Could be hiding, injured, or...
It must be a rotten corpse. Don't follow me, David. You don't want any part of this.
We good? Yeah. Just... some old memories.
Old memories? What do you mean old memories? You were never there! And don't tell me it's because Woods told him about what happened. He still wasn't there. It's not his memory, so therefore the Cradle can't use this knowledge later in the mission to create anything. David was 7 at the time all this happened. Anyway, you fight your way through and find the Insider. However, someone else answers David's call.
It's our guy.
Just hang in there. Karma, gonna need a medevac.
It's no use, Mason.
Say again, Karma?
They're dead. My whole team. They're all dead.
Frank?
Who else would it be?
You are then sent back to La La Land and find yourself in Angola, where Woods was tortured. In which I don't know how the Cradle is doing this. They say it's from their memories at parts of the campaign.
Menendez, now Woods. This toxin's drawing on your memories, Commander.
And for Harper, 50-50, and Samuel, yeah, that for the most part that seems to be the case. But David was never in Nicaragua. He was never in Angola. And he was never in Vorkuta. But I'm getting ahead of myself. You go through memories of Angola looking for Frank Woods. He seems to be in a container like the one he was trapped in before. You go through and destroy some vines like it's a fucking zombies Easter egg, and you try to save him. However, he's not there. At this point, Section's team is getting really confused and frustrated, having no idea what's even happening to them. So David decides to briefly sever the connections with their chips, in which they are suddenly attacked by zombie things by the Cradle before suddenly being sent into some sort of prison. Though, to be honest, it's really hard to tell exactly what it is. You fight through and junk before going up a cargo ship ladder elevator thing. But eventually you find a container as well as Frank Woods, or at least a hallucination of him. However, things take a turn.
You have to help us wake up.
I can't help you, David. I can't help you. Save yourself!
So, funny thing, my friend Bidoof was not only getting an ice maker by this time, but was also doing his online groceries while playing. And at one point, he just looked over at his monitor and said,
Based off the screen, it looks like I'm watching Resident Evil.
and like, yeah, what is this? What does any of this have to do with Call of Duty? And better yet, how does this serve the story? Frank Woods is dead. His suffering is over. Why do we need a drug-filled psych evaluation on a character who is no longer relevant to the story? Anyway, you fight this plant monster and free Frank Woods from it, and David tells Woods that he needs to forgive himself.
I'm not worth it, David. I'm a fucking monster.
What? No. No. Raul Menendez tricked you. You would never kill my father. You loved him. Menendez wanted you to suffer. Us to suffer. You gotta forgive yourself.
It's good advice, kid. You first.
Who's not alive, so why does this even matter? You're not telling Woods this. You're telling the Insider. This isn't how Woods felt. This is how David thinks Woods felt. Oh, whatever. After that, you snap out of your episode and back into reality. Oh, there goes gravity. And you learn that the weapon is the Cradle by the Insider. The only interesting thing that happened in Mission 3 is that I was playing with 3 of my friends, plus 1 rando at the time, but mainly just with 3 of my friends, Poised and Bidoof. Poised was just having so much fun that he left.
I'm gonna leave.
Nah, come on, man.
I am so...
I'll show you true here.
It would be different if, like, it was actually fun.
So it's just me and Bidoof against this shitty world. And that's it. It's just a filler mission in Avalon where you download crap off a server and junk and have a boring sniper boss fight. It's unremarkable is what it is. And be prepared for me skipping over a lot of these filler missions. The next mission is a little better, but still lazy. Before the mission starts, you play as a new crew, and honestly they're really cool. They have natural chemistry with each other, and I kinda like them more than the main crew. But anyway, it takes place on Hijacked. Yes, the multiplayer map, because they're just so creatively bankrupt. But the mission goes as usual until you find the person you're looking for, who is dead, and then you decide to crash the boat onto the docks like it's the Lost World. Then, get this, you start fighting in another multiplayer map. They seriously recycled 2 multiplayer maps in the same mission. I mean, later it gets a bit better. You fight through rooftops, jumping from roof to roof, and at the end you do your objective and fight a VTOL. It's definitely a better map because it feels more like regular Call of Duty, but yeah, no, it's still pretty lazy and definitely pretty terrible. Next mission, for some reason, just wouldn't work. I guess they're trying to keep me out. It keeps loading us without our weapons or even our models. Multi-billion-dollar dollar company, folks. But we fixed it by watching the cutscene all the way through. Great optimization, Treyarch, or Raven Software, one of the two. Anyway, you fight more in Avalon because mission designing is hard, and at this point my friend Bidoof was dreaming about uninstalling the game.
Well, there's one really good thing about this campaign.
What's that?
I believe this game still has the manage files option, right?
Are you going to say that you could delete it?
I can delete the campaign separately, yeah.
Yeah, you know what? That is totally fair. The Avalon section is nothing interesting. You fight through the guild until you hack a SAM and shoot down a drone. Which is where it leads us to another Cradle episode where Samuel is flashed back into the LA attacks in Black Ops 2. Well, at least this time we're actually going through characters' memories. You fight through, play Frogger, and then hack the drone you down before suddenly going into 50/50's backstory. Okay then, where basically some sort of attack happened in Roji, she saw bodies of civilians and kept pushing forward instead of cutting her losses and getting back up, because she was too enraged from the crime she witnessed. However, when they reach the end of her trauma dump, they find themselves in the command center of the USS Obama, which is where Salazar betrayed the US. And Harper has like a mental breakdown over this. Yes, it makes sense, but in Black Ops 2, Harper didn't really hang on to this too much. He just shot Salazar in the back of the head when he got a chance, which is a war crime, by the way. He couldn't do that. However, we now see the effects of his betrayal, and he has, no joke, a Steven Universe level breakdown over this.
Hey, you're gonna turn on us too?
Hey, Harper, cool it.
Who is it? Who's talking to the goddamn guild?
Those motherfuckers.
I'm a fraud. I'm a monster.
Jesus H. Christ, what the fuck am I playing?
What the hell am I looking at?
This is literally the final boss fight from Vanguard Zombies. It's the same thing. And by the way, I still plan on making a video about Vanguard Zombies. I just need to redo the script. But like, isn't this like stupid? Who the fuck sat in the development chair, made this, and went, yeah, this is a worthy sequel to Black Ops 2? After you fight the leftover Vanguard boss fight, you snap out of the cradle, and you find out that the mole is Razor, a character you played in the last mission, and your team discusses whether or not they want to continue the mission.
It's using what's already there. Fears, regrets, that is on us. Hey, Harper.
I don't need no shrink right now. Regrets? No. I say we turn this shit around and make these guild motherfuckers wish they'd never met us.
We can push back on the cradle. Just need to keep our heads together. Don't let emotions take over.
It's easier said than done.
Sadly for you, the player, you don't get a choice, and you continue pushing forward. After that, you go back to Avalon to do Avalon stuff, like find this British dude named Faulkner who, like, does important stuff, so you need information from him. There's a part at the end of the boss fight where David Mason and his men commit a war crime by threatening to throw Faulkner off the building unless they give him information. And then he tells us about Sanctum, which is where he's been sending his research to. Then it hard cuts to the crew wingsuiting away, so as far as I know, they're war criminals who just killed an unarmed surrendering combatant for information. Isn't that just swell? Oh, and if you're wondering how me and Gamer Boy didn't go crazy while playing this, well... Moo? It's not like he mooed like a cow.
Moo?
Moo? Moo.
We found it.
Moo. This game's making us go insane, dude. We did. Once you get into Sanctum, Emma Keegan mocks David with AI of his father ridiculing him? Damn, Keegan, you're like Twitter evil now. But David says, "Nuh-uh, my daddy loves me." And then Keegan says, "Well, your microchip is stupid," and then hacks it. Or at the very least, uses some sort of frequency to exploit it or something, who cares. The Cradle retakes control, and then you end up in Vorkuta. Again, David Mason, you were never here. You were still in your father's ball sacks when this event happened. However, the mission does start quite cool. You're separated from your team and you have to find each other. Alex Mason tries to discourage you, but David asks his father for help. However, he reveals that he is the warden. But David believes his father, who isn't his father, it's just the Cradle talking, is the key out. Once you find Alex Mason, you pin him to a stretcher, and then David tells him to be the father he remembers. You're transported to David's childhood home, a cabin in Alaska, where Alex Mason is still tied down to a stretcher. However, you see a floating TV that starts going through David's memories of his father. And I'm not going to lie, I really liked this part of the campaign. It might be because it reminds me of parts of my childhood with my father, but I like how it characterizes Alex in a very believable way. He wasn't a perfect father, in fact he was a bit of a hard ass, but his love for David was never questionable. Once you collect all memories, you have to protect Alex. However, you get overrun, which leads to Alex Mason saving you, and he gives David a heart-to-heart moment.
David, you're breaking free. But you don't have much time. I know you're not real, but I am. Because I'm part of you. And I'm proud of the man you become. Go. Leave this prison while you still can.
And now the writing goes right back to dog shit. You go back to Vorkuta, you start to break out with the zombified inmates. You know what? Sure, what the fuck ever. You redo all the iconic moments from the original game and break out of Vorkuta and back into reality, where you find out the Guild's plan is to unleash their Cradle, blame it on Menendez, and sell Guild hardware for protection so clever and masterful, blah blah blah, whatever, it's fucking boring. Okay, so somehow I forgot to record the next mission, so I had to go back and replay it by myself. The things I am willing to do. Please make my suffering worth it and like and subscribe. It's another Avalon mission, which I usually skip, but this time stuff actually happens, where the Guild is sending Cradle into shipping containers so they could carry out their attack against the rest of the world. You go to the docks to try to stop them, however Keegan says "fuck you" and the horse you rode in on and detonates the Cradle on you, which at this point she would know would be useless, but she does it anyways. Side note, I love the fact that they make the defusing animation as slow as possible, just to make sure that you fail it. That's just wonderful. Good job taking your time, David. So you go through more Cradle bullshit and fight a mini-boss, and as you can see, he was very challenging. After that, you move on and hear that the traitor Razor is coming to get you. And just look at this cutscene.
Sorry, Mason. Playing the good guy only gets you so far.
Like, is this not the most cheese cutscene you've ever seen in your life? The boss fight is pretty boring too. He just shoots you and teleports around while explaining his motive is just being on the winning side. Which is definitely the worst villain motive I've heard, especially for something so last minute. Like, there's no scene where he's questioning if JSOC has a chance, or shows some sort of sympathy towards the Guild, or prefers the company over his country, or just anything. Bro literally just joined a match, saw his team was quote-unquote losing, then swapped teams, and then lost anyways. Whatever. After you defeat him, Harper Salazar's him. Cool. Okay, finally, we are at the end. A cutscene plays and we find out that the Cradle is made in a factory that is located under the ocean. Just like in Black Ops 1! Oh my fucking god, they referenced Black Ops 1! They're referencing everything! This game's incredible because references! References, folks! Anyways, you get to the stupid base and kill people. There are some cool gameplay elements, such as controlling mechs for a short period of time, but other than that, it's pretty basic. You find the Cradle, which is like in this bioreactor or something, that's what they call it. and is put into the seawater to cool down. So the plan is to lift the bioreactor out of the water and overheat it and make it explode, which I thought would collapse the whole place, and it kinda does. Parts of the base fall apart, but not fully. But I'm getting ahead of myself. You keep fighting Keegan for control of the bioreactor until you lock it out of the water and it starts to overheat, which leads to it to explode and infect the surrounding area with the cradle. You run through some halls as shit explodes and collapse, a lot like what happened in Modern Warfare 2, the original, until you reach the final boss room. You're infected by the cradle and seeing shit, and Keegan teleports around mocking you, trying and failing to copy the Joker from Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker.
Behind all the sturm and batarangs, you're just a little boy in a play suit crying for mommy and daddy. It'd be funny if it weren't so pathetic.
Because inside that armor beats the heart of a scared little boy kidnapped by Menendez. You're just like your father. A big, fat failure.
So the boss fights are something, right? And at this point, I expect some crazy shit for a final boss fight. We got giant Harper, plant monsters. I expect something bigger at this point. So what madness do we get now? A mech? Oh. Look, I'm not saying that I really want more drug trippy stuff. To be frank, I would have liked it if you never started to begin with, but this is the final boss fight? That's, kind of underwhelming. I guess they want this over with as much as I do. Anyway, you fight 3 mechs at a time, and every time you destroy one, you get this animation that really feels like it belongs in a different game. But once you're finally done, you get up to Keegan and kinda get an explanation for what her deal is. She's mad how Menendez burnt the roll down and how the government's failed to stop him. That part makes sense. I get where she's coming from. But she's also like, ooh, my way is new and advanced and you're just old lapdogs. I'm in front of cameras looking cool and you're in the shadows. My way's clearly better. And I'm just sitting here like, girl, you got your ass kicked by just 4 dudes. Your guild sucks and is incompetent. Anyways, she gets decked in the face. However, the cradle starts to kick in while you're trying to escape. And you manage to swim back to the surface, just like in Black Ops 1, which just makes me want to play Black Ops 1 again, because that story was great, and this story was shit. You make it to the surface, you do your, oh, we made it, but at what cost? And then frickin' she comes over with Keegan tied up in the boat, and then they're like, how about we stay longer in Avalon? We got stuff that we need to clean up. And I'm like, no, I just want it over with, actually. I don't want to stay here any longer. But thankfully, it doesn't continue to another mission, and it ends there. But Jesus Christ, that was trash. Okay, that was certainly something, alright. COD is a childhood game of mine. I used to spend hours playing through all of the campaigns. You name it, from COD 2003 all the way to Ghost. I played them all, and enjoyed them all. These campaigns mean a great deal to me, probably more than it means to the average COD player. So seeing a COD campaign get done so wrong, with ugly boss fights, lazy story writing, and bastardizing characters that I love, gets me pretty fucking pissed. This campaign is not just bad, far from it. This campaign is unforgivable. This is an official sequel to Black Ops 2, one of the best stories Call of Duty has ever had, turned into a boring, lazy, and severely misguided slop. Look at these cutscenes from other Call of Duty games, and compare them to Black Ops 7.
Nice. So! You have to go now! Get off me! I'm sorry. Your suffering only brought us closer together. Fuck you!
Mason, what are you doing? We need him alive! Stand down! Stand down!
Is Victor Radnoff, and I will have my revenge!
Mason, no! You have the DSM. We got it, sir! Good. That's one less loose end. No!
Area is sanitized. All targets destroyed. Solid copy. No movement detected. 2-6 going into holding pattern.
This is embarrassing. The fact that this was sold to us for $70 should be a crime. Good thing I got it for $15 plus a refund. Even then, that might be too much for all the time that I wasted. All this campaign made me want to do was to take a shower for how dirty it made me feel, and then go play a better COD campaign to remember the great storytelling that we lost. If you decide to buy this game, don't even bother playing the campaign. It's a complete waste of time. Just go replay Black Ops 2 and pretend Black Ops 7 has no story, as Black Ops 4 did. You're missing out on nothing. Oh yeah, and then there's the Endgame, which, spoiler, is just Warzone Zombies from Modern Warfare 3 2023. You drop into the map at Zone 1, the first difficulty selection, with the enemies at your level and are manageable. You go run around and do objectives scattered around the map for points, and for every 10 points you get a damage increase. Now, you might ask, what if I want to go to Zone 2 before reaching level 10? Well, you can, but the enemy is going to be extremely bullet spongy. The idea is that you're going to be playing in your tier until you're leveled up enough to go to the next tier. However, you have a time limit, so you're likely going to have to exfil and then come back to play into the next difficulty tier, where next time you play, you'll be dropped into the section of the map that matches your level. It's a neat idea, and I can see a lot of people enjoying it, even myself somewhat. I didn't mind it, but it's pretty half-baked. I get the idea, the more you level up, the more powerful you get, until you manage to die and then you can start over. Almost like a roguelike in some way. It's fine, I guess, it works for what it wants to be. The problem I find with the mode is that you can't really get better at it. You know? Sure, your character gets stronger and better, you know, you could get upgrades, your guns could do more damage, there's all that kind of stuff, but you yourself aren't learning anything. The enemies don't have some sort of element that you need to play around or figure out. There's none of that. There isn't a huge difficulty curve, because as long as you're just leveling yourself up for the next tier, you should be fine. Even then, the difficulty curve is just more spongy bullets, which isn't interesting. Maybe I need to get into the highest tier to get this mode more, but for what I played, it's fine, I guess, but I don't really see people preferring this over anything else in the game. I do prefer it more than the campaign, though. That much is obvious. Alright, so zombies. I put this here because, honestly, I have the least to say about it. I loved Terminus and Black Ops 6 Zombies. Honestly, it's probably one of my favorite zombies maps of all time. Near Mob of the Dead, Dare Rees, Shadows of Evil, Origins, and maps like that. So I really expected the new map, Ashes of the Dam, to be something incredible. It's not. At least in my opinion. I hear a lot of people saying pretty mixed things about it. One side praising it and the other side hating it. But for me, I just didn't find it all that fun on solo play. Especially when half the time you're just driving. And if you're not driving, you're in a small segment. I will say, the map with friends is a lot better. It's definitely tailor-made for co-op play, much more than Zombies usually is. Which isn't bad unless you don't have friends who play zombies a lot. They also added curse mode, which makes you start with a pistol and returns the game to its original point system, which I prefer a lot more than the modern zombie system. This mode is really great, and it's definitely a step up. However, while Ashes was fun, but left me wanting more. This is where Dead Ops Arcade stupidly does so much better. Dead Ops has always been a nice addition ever since Black Ops 1, which I actually used to play Dead Ops Arcade a lot more in Black Ops 1, and this doesn't disappoint. They added a lot of cool mini games where you have to compete against your friends. Like there's this helicopter one along with this race kart one. It's a good party game with friends. Overall, Zombies is good, but for me, it leaves a lot to be desired, with only one map that's geared to co-op play, along with Ashes just not really being an interesting map to me. I'm sure plenty of people will disagree with me on this, and that's fine. And if Black Ops 6 is anything to show, I'm sure this year's Zombies will be pretty good, especially with the curse mode out now. Alright, multiplayer. I think this Sharknado clip explains my feelings.
It's good. Not great.
Yeah, the multiplayer is fun, I guess. They took out the really aggressive SBMM/EOMM from Modern Warfare 2019 all the way to Black Ops 6, and the game feels a lot better because of it. Don't get me wrong, just because the SBMM has been reduced doesn't mean you're gonna suddenly be a god at this game or anything. It just means that if you are good, it's going to feel more consistent, and going up against players who are better than you is much less frustrating because you know you just matched with a better player, not a system arbitrarily deciding you're too good and you had too much fun. All this really means is the lower SBMM and EOMM means that your matches are going to feel much more natural rather than becoming a forced esports tournament rather than suddenly being forced into an esports tournament. However, this does seem to change if you're playing with multiple people. I've been playing with my friends, Gamerboy, Bidoof, and Poised, and we noticed a huge difference between us playing by ourselves and with friends. It gets noticeably sweatier. Not always, there are matches where we can hold our own or even fuck shit up, but there is still a noticeable difference. I think it's because the matchmaking doesn't want us to team up and wreck casual players who have no means of communicating or teaming effectively to counter us, so we're placed into sweatier lobbies, which is fine, I guess. It makes sense, but that's just something you should be aware of if you want to play with friends. Another thing is the maps and how the beta did them dirty. So firstly, they fixed the sensitive spawning issue. Now it's a lot easier to predict what the spawns are going to flip, though sometimes it gets a bit messed up, especially on the smaller maps, but the beta really chose bad maps for its first impressions, as the other maps are honestly decent enough, like Retrieval or Scar. They feel like classic maps and don't really have a bad flow at all. They are still simple maps though. You know, 3 lanes, no real power positions or anything like that, nothing to really learn, but they're good enough and are a lot better than what Black Ops 6 had to offer. The gunsmith and perks are also fine, I guess. It's mostly the same from Black Ops 6. There's not much to talk about with the gunsmith. Most of your builds are going to be the same, at least in multiplayer, and the guns are pretty usable. They did do something cool with the kill streaks and perks. In Black Ops 6, matching perk types will grant you a special ability. In Black Ops 7, matching different perk types in a specific order will also grant you some neat abilities. So you're actually encouraged to play with them more. And the score streaks and equipment have something called overclocking, which are these added abilities like making the UAV cheaper or adding a fuse to the cluster grenade. It's a neat feature. So far, the multiplayer doesn't have too many frustrating elements. Well, except for maybe the skewer, that's annoying, is a cheap automated score streak that will track you down and kill you unless you have overhead cover. Oh, and there's these drone pods, which isn't even a score streak, it's a fucking field upgrade that launches these mini drones to hunt you down and kill people if they're low enough. How is that allowed? That's actually just bullshit. Oh yeah, and apparently Treyarch got their local inbred to work on the footstep audio. The amount of time someone is sprinting at me inches away and I have no clue, and they don't even have dead silence half the time, is ridiculous. Don't get me wrong, I don't want people running around with elephant feet, but I don't want fucking hobbits chasing me either. But there is just one big problem for me. It's not a game-breaking problem, and I'm not even sure if it's the game's fault. This is just a personal thing I noticed. I played quite a bit of the multiplayer. My KD is decent. I'm not a pro. I'm not trash. I'm just decent enough. I reached Prestige 1. I played enough of the multiplayer to get a good view of what it is. So, with all that being said, what do you think I'm going to say about the Black Ops 7 multiplayer? Do you think I hate it and it's just awful, horribly balanced with nothing fun? Do I love it and it's the most fun thing ever and I just can't wait to play more? Or do I find it mid? Well, I'll tell you. While the multiplayer is good, not great, I found myself bored. which out of all the feelings I expected to feel from Call of Duty, you could feel a lot of different emotions from Call of Duty. You could feel happy, angry, pissed off, rage, okay, a lot of negative feelings, but you could also feel accomplished, you could feel satisfied, you get those really good plays. Out of anything I'd expect to feel from a Call of Duty game, boredom isn't one of them, especially from the multiplayer. Unless it's Vanguard, everything about that game was boring. But Black Ops 7 isn't bad. I can have fun with it. I can get pissed with it. It's still a COD game. I just find myself not enjoying it as much as I think I should be. I'd rather be playing something else half the time. And if your multiplayer is making me feel that way, I honestly don't know what to tell you. I will say, what I'm saying is only subjective. If you find Black Ops 7 the most fun thing since sliced bread, then enjoy it to your heart's content. It's definitely one of the better, more consistently fun multiplayer games we've got out of this long 6 years, but for me personally, it's just not hooking me. Alright, so we pretty much talked about everything, so what's my overall opinion? Well, Black Ops 7, minus the campaign, is fine. It's another COD game, and it has some neat tricks up its sleeves along with familiar elements. If you're a fan of the Call of Duty multiplayer and zombies, I'm sure you'll like this game fine. But if you're not a die-hard Call of Duty fan, what can I say to recommend this game over any other game on the market right now? Honestly, I don't know. Maybe the zombies, as that's the only thing that's really unique about Call of Duty anymore. If you like the map and or the new style of zombies. The problem I have is, why would I play this over anything else I have? The answer is, I don't know. If I want a co-op campaign with weapon rarities, interesting enemy types, and fun boss fights while still being a first-person shooter, I'd play Borderlands 4. If I want a casual, grounded, military-themed shooter with unlocked and progressions that I have a lot of fun with, and I'm sorry to do this, I know I said I won't be mentioning it, but I'd rather play Battlefield 6. If I wanted a non-grounded competitive shooter, I'd play The Finals, or anything with a bigger skill gap than Call of Duty. Even if I want to play zombies, why would I pick Ashes of the Dam over Origins or Shadows of Evil? Look, I'm not saying Black Ops 7 is objectively worse than any of these games, but what I am saying is that I can't think of anything Black Ops 7 offers or does better than any of these games, other than being Call of Duty. And if you're someone who's been burnt out with Call of Duty recently and SBMM being reduced just isn't enough for you, then I can't really think of a reason for you to buy it. The only one that I can think of is to play it with friends. And you know what? Maybe that's a good enough reason. I said in my Black Ops 7 review that I wasn't interested in buying Black Ops 7. And I still feel that way. I likely won't buy it after I just canceled my PC Game Pass. But that's not to say I never will. I enjoyed playing it with my friends, and I enjoyed the game decently enough, and I like hanging out with them. And if I am to get it, it would be to hang out with my friends more. But again, there are other games I can play with them. But other than that, I don't really have a reason to buy it. At least not right now. Overall, Black Ops 7 is a pretty disappointing title. The campaign is a disgrace to the Black Ops 2 story. While the zombies is fine and the multiplayer is a noticeable improvement, it's not really enough to hook me in, and it seems it wasn't enough for the broad audience either, as Black Ops 7 is being torn apart by critics and audience alike, and is underperforming, with estimate sales lower than Black Ops 6. The Steam numbers barely seeing any player improvement, and Call of Duty for the first time in its history, at the time of writing this, is losing to its competitor, Battlefield 6. Too big to fail, they said. What fucking morons. Thank you all so much for watching. There are some things I forgot, like the skirmish mode, but it's just so bland and forgettable, I couldn't find a place for it in the script, along with the AI calling cards, which just shows how little they care, and that they'll cut corners and fire more people and expect bigger profits like the greedy cunts they are. I can't lie, while I am apathetic towards Call of Duty and anything the breast milk bandits make, I am sad that it has come to this. Call of Duty is a childhood classic of mine, and seeing it decline, even if it is deserved, is very disheartening. Honestly, I really doubt Modern Warfare 4 is going to save the franchise or anything. I doubt it's the end, but I do think this franchise may have lost its place as the most popular shooter, and something else is going to take its place. But this video is long enough, and now I can get ready for my Battlefield 6 review. What do you all think about Black Ops 7? Do you think the hate was forced, or are you just going to go play something else? Either way, I'd love to hear your opinion about it. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you all so much for watching and suffering with me.